In this tutorial, we are going to work through importing image assets into the Frogger game we have begun to build. So this is a very exciting moment. You can see that on the screen we have three different kinds of game components. We got the frog that's moving up and down. We got the 7 frog lives that's on the bottom left that decreases when a frog collides into a car. And we got the moving cars themselves too. So we're going to work through applying image onto every single one of these game components. First off, we have to have a folder of image assets. So I went online and found open source imageries for both my cars and my frog. So I'll share the link to where I found these images inside the video description. The first step is taking that froggy.png and come back and replacing my green circle here. So that's my first step. What I will want to do is click on this tiny little arrow on the left and another even tinier arrow on the left of that next to sketch files. And I can just go ahead and upload a image file, or I can be a little more organized, which I'm going to try now, to create a folder. And I'm going to name my folder assets. And I'm going to try to put all my images inside that folder, just to be organized. So once I created my folder right here, I can hover over that and click on that tiny little arrow on the right hand side of it and upload a file. And this is where I can start dragging my froggy.png into my white box here. And just wait till it's fully loaded before you close the window. And now I am going to be ready to load this froggy image. In order to load a media file in p5.js, you have to create variable to contain your media file. So same goes to image. I'm going to make a variable, just gonna say let froggy, that is going to contain my froggy.png. And now I want to introduce a new function in P5 called the function preload. Function preload is a function that must go before function setup. It is a function that ensures that all your media files, such as image file or sound file, gets fully loaded before setup can execute. This is very helpful because you don't really want a scenario where your function draw is like ready to play a sound or ready to load an image, but the browser hasn't finished loading the image. So function preload helps making sure that image and media files are fully loaded before they get executed. So here, the syntax for loading an image is we're going to state our variable froggy and assign it to load image. Inside of load image, inside that parenthesis, we're going to indicate the file path to that specific image. If we pull this out again on the left, we'll see that we have to put the file path in the quotation mark, by the way, so that it's a string. And we're going to write assets, which is the name of our folder, and / and froggy.png. So that's my file path. Make sure you triple check your spelling, and like the syntax has to match exactly as the name of your file. And now I'm just gonna quickly draw this image out just to make sure that it's finding it. So I'm gonna go down into my draw function below my background function, and I'm going to write image. And the image function is what you use to load an image, to actually draw an image onto the canvas. It takes like three to 5 parameters. So the first parameter is actually the variable name, the variable that's containing your image file. In this case, it's going to be Froggy. The second parameter is X position, and third is Y position. Oh, and fourth and fifth are like width and height, in case you want to change the width and height of your image. Okay, so I'm gonna hit play here, and there you go. Like our frog is on the upper left. Cool. So now what I want to do is integrate my frog image into my actual frog1 object here, right? So the way we can do that, I'm going to copy that image function, and I'm gonna go down into my frog class and find the body method here, which is where I drew that green ellipse, right? So I'm gonna go below this and just put down the image function. And in terms of X and Y, it would make the most sense to write this dot X and this dot Y here, so that the image is just going to follow everything we have already set up for the green ellipse, right? So I'm gonna hit play here, and there you go. That's our, that's our little froggy. There are a few things we can tweak here to make the image, match our collision boundary a little more. So the first thing we can do is actually changing the anchor point, the orientation for our image. And so there's actually something called image mode that we can use. And inside of image mode, we can just write center. And when we do that, you can see that the froggy image went from like the corner anchor point to the center anchor point, which mirrors how the circle works, right? So that's great. We could also make the frog just tiny little bigger so that it's going to match the collision point for that circle a little better. So what we could do here is adding a fourth and fifth, width and height parameters for our image. And how would I know, like what is the current size of my frog image right now? Well, there's actually a way to know that. And the way to know that is typing froggy.width and froggy.height. So there's actually a way to access the width and height of your froggy by going, by using the dot notation. So of course, if I just type froggy.width, froggy.height, it's just going to load its current size, right? So there's no resizing happening. So what I can do here is maybe writing times, 1.2, for instance. I'm just obviously guessing and estimating. So if I do that, I can see that my frog has gotten a little bigger, right? So you can kind of like go ahead and tweak this until it feels right to you. But at this point, we can actually comment or even delete our ellipse and our fill. We no longer need that. And hopefully when we get up here, it's still going to react to my image assets the same way, right? Oh, I just lost on my frog life. Okay, so I'm going to hit click on save here and go on to the next step. The next step we have here is we need to replace the bottom left, like 7 frog lives, with our frog image. So this should be easy enough. We're using the same froggy. We're using the same froggy image to like apply to, like the lower left circles down there. So let's take a look at our function current frog lives. So this is where the ellipses are being drawn, right? So why can't I just essentially write an image function in here and just write froggy. And I will just put the X position and Y position here, copying the ellipse, and just hit play. So if I have that, I mean, my froggy is a little too close. I have to like space that out a little bit, or just make the froggy a little smaller. I can do that for sure. So if I do froggy dot width times 0.8 maybe, and froggy dot height times 0.8. Okay, if I do that, my frogs are a little smaller, right? So if I come up here and just, burn my frog life, it's going to just delete the images one at a time, or more so, it's loading one less image every time the frog lives are lost, right? So cool. Second problem solved. What's next? The next step I want to take is actually make it so that every single one of the cars that I'm seeing here would display a different car image. So if I come back and take a look at my image folder here, I have like 5 different kinds of car image. So I'm going to try to apply them all into the sketch I have here. Okay, so let's think through this for a second here, okay? I'm actually going to change my car num to 5, just like for the sense of like clarity, at least in the beginning. I have 5 different cars here, car objects here, and I want each one of them take on a different car image. So I can do it maybe manually, like if I load like one image at a time and just apply each one of those car onto the object. I can imagine something like that, but there is probably a smarter way to do this. And if we think about what is the smartest way, or the sort of like most efficient way to put a list of images, a list of car images onto a list of objects, the answer of that is using an array, right? So here we are going to apply an array of images onto an array of objects. How do we do that exactly? Here is what I'm going to show you, and it is a great trick. So what we have to do now is we have to rename every single car that we want to include on our car image list with a similar name and followed by a different number. So for example, car0.png, car1.png, car2.png, car3, car4. Okay, cool. So now that I have my cars named sequentially, I'm going to come back to my folder, image folder, asset folder here, and I'm going to upload file, and I'm just going to upload these files all together. So here I have these different images, and I'm going to save, and I'm going to come back to my sketch.js, and this is where it gets fun. So I'm going to make a let car image equals to empty array. So I'm making an empty image array for my cars. And inside of preload, I'm going to use a for loop in combination with an array to load all of the images at once. So what that's going to look like is for let I equals to 0, I smaller than cars num, right? Or you can simply write 5. We have 5 different images, I plus plus. And down here, I'm going to say car image and followed by a square bracket with an I inside equals to load image and assets / car, car. And here, this is where it gets interesting. So we have completed the first part of the string, assets / car. Now we want to be able to loop through every single like option 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So in order to do that, we have to borrow our I over here, and to integrate that into like the name of the path, we have to actually jump out of our string, write plus I plus and return to the string by writing .png. So if I wrote everything correctly, it should be, what's happening here is that every time this for loop is executed, it's loading a different image on inside of that array. So the first one is going to be asset car0.png and car1, car2, car3, car4. All right, so let's make sure that this is working. I'm going to come down to not my setup. I'm going to go to my draw function, and I'm going to just, again, write this up using a for loop. So for let I equals to 0, I smaller than 5, I plus plus, and down here, I'm going to use my image function, right? And this time I'm going to say, what was the name of that variable? Car image, and I, right? And it's going to be like, I don't know, like I times 40, 30, and Y can just be 30. So moment of truth. So we're hitting play. Ooh, wow. Okay, so the cars are indeed showing, but they are a lot bigger than I expected. So let's actually change the size of the car right now. So I'm going to add more parameters in here, and I would just say it's always a good idea to actually access my car.width, car.height, and just time it to like, you know, a decimal number so that you're working with percentage, you know, so you're not guessing or making up numbers that like distort the proportion of the cars. So here if I write 0.0 times 0.5, for example. Okay, now I'm halving the size of my cars, and I actually think it can be even smaller. So what about 0.3? Okay, that is close. I can fine-tune the actual final size in a second. But the point being, we have now successfully loaded a list of car images using an array and a for loop. That is absolutely awesome. So now we have to think about our next step, right? We have 5 different car objects on the screen right now. We want to be able to send our image. We want to be able to load our image and send our image down to every single one of those objects. So let's first copy the image function we have written here, and I'm going to comment my for loop out. And I'm actually going to go down to my car class into my body, and I'm going to paste this down here. Okay, so this is going to require a for loop. But you know what? I'm just gonna write like 0 for now because it makes things easier to understand at first. Okay, so I'm going to say like, I don't know, like 30, or actually no, this has to be like this dot x and this dot y. Okay, so if I hit play here, I am going to see my car image 0, which is in this case my blue car, actually like overlaying on top of every single object that's being created here, right? I can actually, I think, use image mode and make it, I think we want corner for our cars since it's corresponding with a rectangle which, you know, utilizes the corner mode. So if I press that, oh, okay, so the position is a little off, but I can tweak that, maybe just by like offsetting this a little bit. So I can say maybe 20 minus 20, something of that sort. Okay, maybe I'll do 25. Okay, we can tweak this in a second, but the point being, like, how do we now, you know, be able to send a different image into our object every time it's created into this world? And the way we are going to do that is actually by returning to our draw function and looking into our car object. So here, I is smaller than cars num, which also happen to be number 5. You know, we have like the matching object with matching images. So what I can do here actually is sending my eye, right? I can send my eye into my body here. And so that every time a new object is created, we can, like, you know, make sure that a different index number is associated with every object so that when the body method is being drawn, here we can like create a local variable index that takes in that I number and sends it into my actual car image. Okay, so if I hit play now, yay! So what we have is every single time the car body is drawn, it takes the index number of, you know, that execution and it sends it into my body method. And here I'm calling this, you know, incoming number index, and I'm using that to load a different index position of my car image. Therefore, every time the object is created on the screen, it's going to have a different image from my list. So I hope this makes sense. This is basically all you need to know in relating to how to import image assets into your game.